Good afternoon, Ravens. I am super excited for our third official bake. We are going to be baking chocolate chip cookies. And one of the things I love about this particular recipe is that you can customize it if you'd like with all kinds of things. So I was going to start by talking about a few of the things that we sometimes customize things with. If you picked up a baking kit today, you have 2 cups of chocolate chips. There's lots of different kinds of chocolate chips, semi-sweet, milk chocolate, white chocolate. You could use any of those. You could use peanut butter chips. They also make butterscotch chips, which are delicious. I like to add, sometimes I add oatmeal to my cookies. It just gives them a different consistency. Coconut, I love to put coconut, or some people like nuts in theirs. I think that today I might do half of my batter with chocolate chips and half of my batter with a whole bunch of other stuff that I love. So we'll talk about how you can supplement while you're baking. I have placed the list of ingredients in the chat. If you picked up a baking kit today, you'll have these readily measured, and I'll talk about them as we use them. But I'll read through them real quick just in case. 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup or 2 sticks of butter softened. So you want it to be, I left mine out this morning on purpose so I can squish it pretty easy. If you haven't, you could also put it in a microwave for like 10 seconds. If it's not squishy and soft. 3/4 cups of granulated white sugar and 3/4 cups of packed brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 large eggs, 2 cups of chocolate chips, peanut butter chips, whatever you decide to put in, and if you choose to, chopped nuts. Those are the ingredients we'll do today. The other thing I want to ask you is, as we do our baking today, if you have questions, again, turn your mic on or go ahead and just use the chat. If I'm moving too quickly, please just let me know. If I'm moving too quickly now, it means that our recording and anyone else who's using this afterwards is going to feel the same way. So you telling me that I'm moving too quickly is a good thing. All right, so the very first thing we're going to do is, if you have an electric mixer, I happen to have, I use my KitchenAid here at home. You could also maybe have one that's a handheld with 2 beaters in it. You can also use just a really stiff, like wooden spoon, whatever works best for you. I see that Owen has a wire whisk. The wire whisks sometimes with cookies, Owen, it gets stuck in there and it makes it harder to mix. So that's why having a really solid spoon is really helpful. The first thing, and you want a big bowl, right? You need a big bowl to get all this in. But the first thing we're going to do is, I want you to grab, perfect, a medium-ish size, kind of small bowl. I'm going to grab one. Go ahead and grab this one. And before I do that, actually, I want to go in and make sure that my oven is preheated. If you're using your oven today, I want you to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. Preheating your oven while you're getting the ingredients ready is a really great time saver. I did mention earlier, Owen, what's your question?
This is just a comment, but I normally use a chopstick to get like all the dough out of my whisk.
If you have a plan, you go for it. Thanks for sharing that. One of the things I mentioned too earlier, if you're not baking right now, sometimes we bake, like today's super hot. So if you want to bake in the evening or the early morning, you can mix all of your ingredients now. One of the great things about chocolate chip cookies is, one, you could put your balls of dough in the refrigerator and wait and bake them another time, or you could even put them in the freezer, because the really cool thing about cookie dough is you can just pull it out of the freezer and you can make like 3 or 4 cookies at a time and not have to make the whole batch. So we're going to go ahead and start by getting our flour, our baking soda, and our salt in the smaller bowl. So I am going to go ahead and flip this down. And I'm going to, I need 2 1/4 cups of flour. If you have our baking kit, it's the largest bag of white powder flour. 1, 2 1/4. Okay. And then I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of salt. And if you have our baking kit from school, your salt and your soda is in the smaller plastic bag, and it is together. The salt and the soda are together. So here's my 1 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon of soda. And then if you have a fork, or Owen had his whisk out, it just helps to just kind of mix those all together. You get the soda mixed in really good, just like that. All right. Okay, I'm gonna put my flour away. Now, we're going to set our dry ingredients aside, and we're going to start mixing in our bowl. So you can see here I have my mixer. It's ready to go. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our 2 sticks of butter, and we're going to open those and put them in our bowl. Just like that. Excellent. Two cubes of butter is 1 cup. Means 1 cube of butter is 1/2 cup. And then I'm going to add my sugar. Now in this particular recipe, the sugar is 3/4 cups of brown sugar and 3/4 cups of white sugar. And with the brown sugar, it wants it firmly packed. So we want to make sure that we push it down. There's my 1/4 cup of brown. And I need another 1/2 cup. If you're in our baking kits, the brown sugar and the granulated sugar are already measured. You can just put them in. Now I need my granulated sugar. I need 1/4 and 1/2. Go. Okay. Awesome. And again, don't forget, if you need me to slow down, just let me know. If you have questions, you can turn your mic on or put it in the chat. Whatever works best. Kiliani's typing, so I might wait just a minute and see what we've got. So in our bowl, 1 cup of sugar, 3/4 cups of brown sugar, and 3/4 cups of white sugar. Okay. Yes, everything, if you picked up a kit at school today, everything's already measured. So right now in this big bowl, just the butter and the 2 sugars, the white and the brown sugar. We'll go ahead and pull it up because we need to mix. Maybe flip this a little. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. And we're going to mix this until it gets kind of fluffy. So if you're mixing by hand, just use those muscles and really mix, mix, mix. With an electric mixer like this one, you need to sometimes scrape the sides of the bowl and then continue mixing. So I'm going to scrape the sides of my bowl. Turn that back on. I'm going to scrape the bowl again so you can see. It's getting kind of fluffy. It's getting really well mixed in. You can see that. I'm going to run this for 1 more minute. So go ahead and just keep mixing for about 1 more minute. All right, I'm gonna scrape my bowl. Oh, it's looking good, nice and creamy, really mixed well. The next thing we're going to add, is our vanilla extract. So you need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. If you're using our kit, it's in the little cup. It's the only thing in the cup today. It's brown and liquidy. Go ahead and add that. And give that a nice good mix so it can mix in. And now we're going to do our eggs. Everybody does eggs differently. We need 2 whole eggs. So I'm gonna crack my egg. I like to crack it into another container so that if I happen to get a little bit of shell in there when I'm cracking it, I can look and see if I have any and take it out. So I'm just gonna crack both of my eggs into this measuring cup that I used to measure my flour. And then you can pour those in. Pour your 2 eggs in and mix it up. We'll probably mix for about another minute here. I scrape the bowl halfway through. If you're mixing by hand, I know that arm's getting tired, but just keep going. So now the batter is starting to get really fluffy. If you look at it, Now it's got almost like a frosting-like consistency to it. And once you get to that point where it's nice and fluffy, now we're going to add all of our dry ingredients. This is our 2 1/4 cups of flour, our salt, and our baking soda. Okay. Drop that all in. Now, if you are using a stand mixer like I am, just really quickly, when you turn it on slowly, or you'll get this giant poof of flour in your face, and it makes a huge mess. So start it slowly, and once it starts to mix, you can start turning it up. And Owen's mixing by hand, using those muscles, which is awesome. Go ahead and just keep on mixing until it all mixes together. So we'll go ahead and pause. Might scrape my bowl one time, check the sides. Mix it a little bit more. Once I'm all mixed, if you're using an electric mixer, you want to scrape your batter. Owen had a great idea. With the wire whisk, Owen uses a chopstick to poke it through to make sure you get all that good batter. Scrape this as best you can because you don't want to miss out on a cookie. Excellent. Okay. So now I have, this is a full batter of chocolate chip cookie dough without the chocolate chips. Something's missing, right? What I'm going to do, because I talked to you about how this recipe is easy to manipulate and make different things. So I'm gonna, if you're making just chocolate chip cookies, you can pour your chocolate chips in. I'm gonna take a big scoop of my dough and I'm gonna set it aside because I'm gonna show you, while we bake our first batch, I'm gonna show you how I kind of make different cookies. So go ahead and add your chocolate to your batter and give it a really great stir. I'm gonna go ahead and move my mixer here. Add those chocolate chips. If you're a nut person, if you want to add nuts, you can sprinkle some nuts in. Because this is about, I don't know, I took some out, I'm gonna put about half of my bag in. But if you're doing just chocolate chips, put the whole bag in, all 2 cups. And go ahead and give it a nice big mix like this. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody complain about extra chocolate in a chocolate chip cookie, so that's probably okay too if you're adding a little extra. There we go. Okay. So now the next thing I'm going to do is get my pan ready. I'm going to get my sheet pan out for my cookies. this is my sheet pan here. In your bag, if you picked up a bag from school today, I included a piece of parchment paper. I like to use parchment paper because it makes it really easy to keep your pan clean, and it also makes it really easy to get the cookies off. So I'm just going to make sure, this piece I have is a little too big, so I'm just folding it under so that my parchment fits on my paper. And the good news is I just heard my oven is ready. It's at the right temperature. And I'm going to show you 2 ways that I usually scoop out my cookies. The first is I use a cookie scoop. It looks like, to find it, cookie scoop looks like an ice cream scoop. This is one of the ones I use. So this, if you're going to use a cookie scoop, you just fill it nice and full, and then you can start to put them on your sheet. If you don't have one of these, though, I'm going to show you. My grandma Alice taught me how to make pretty round cookies using 2 spoons. So Grandma Alice would say, scoop about however much you want in your spoon, and then you're kind of sculpting it. See, I'm sculpting it in that spoon back and forth between the 2 spoons. Excuse me. And then you put that on your sheet. That's another way. You can also use your fingers. Lots of people use their fingers. Scoop it with a spoon, put it on with your fingers. That's fine too. So I'm going to fill you, when you place your cookies on the cookie sheet, it depends on the size of your cookie sheet, but you want to leave about 2 inches between your cookies so that when they spread out, when they bake, they don't connect. Although sometimes I have a bad bake and my cookies connect, but that's the joy of cooking. You never know what you're going to get. So you can use spoons, you can use the scoop. Okay. So here is my first round of cookies. Kayleani and Alice and Owen, how are you guys doing? Quick check-in. Owen's doing well. If I was going to freeze or save these, you could even use the parchment and you could put them on here in a Tupperware or in a Ziploc bag and freeze them. And then you could bake them at another time. So even if you don't want to bake them all today, you might be able to do that. So now I'm going to go ahead and put these in my oven that I have preheated to 375 degrees. And it says to bake, it for 10 to 14 minutes. That's a big difference, 10 to 14 minutes. So I usually start at 10 minutes. I set my timer for 10 minutes and then I add 2 minutes at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and stick these in my oven and set my timer for 2 minutes. Or sorry, 10 minutes. Okay, now, have no fear. You keep doing what you're doing. Get those cookies on that plate. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you could customize this very, very simple cookie dough. So I have a little less than half of my cookie dough here in my bowl. I'm going to set this aside. This is my chocolate chip. My husband, Mr. Winecoop, would be really sad if I contaminated his chocolate chip cookies with the things I'm going to add to this other cookie dough. So I'm going to make sure to keep them separate. And I talked to you earlier about some different things. One, I have some pecans. I love pecans in my cookies. So I'm going to grab a handful. This is about 1/3 of a cup because I don't have a whole dough recipe here. And you can toast these in advance. I didn't toast them this time, but I'm just gonna, you can chop them or break them up. I'm just going to break them up in here because pecans break really easy and they're delicious. And then after the pecans, I'm also gonna add coconut because the coconut makes it so chewy and delicious. And the coconut, I'm probably gonna add about 1/3 of a cup as well. For me, that's about a handful. I do apologize. This part of it is kind of the fun part in my mind, where you get to not measure exactly, because we already did that with the dough, and you just get to put all these amazingly delicious treats inside. You could put M&Ms in here. You could put Reese's Pieces in here. I'm trying to think what else you could put in here. Oh, sometimes, I don't know, if you ever go trick-or-treating or after Halloween you have lots of Halloween candy left, you could even chop up like Snickers and Milky Ways, and you could chop them up and put them in here. So again, I have about 1/3 of a cup there. I'm just gonna pour my coconut in. I love a little sweet. Since this one doesn't have chocolate in it, I'm gonna add my butterscotch chips. Yum. There's gonna be more extra ingredients in this than there's going to be cookie dough. Yum. And then the last thing I'm gonna add, we're gonna call this the kitchen sink. I'm gonna add everything. I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup of oatmeal because I love a good oatmeal cookie. Delicious. I'm going to grab one of my spoons that I was using. I'm just gonna start to mix this in. Oh my gosh, these make the best cookies. They're sweet and chewy and a little bit crunchy, which is really amazing to have all at the same time. Mix, look how delicious that looks. Looks so good. You could put raisins. Oh my gosh, an oatmeal raisin cookie, so good. You could add a little cinnamon. I'm trying to think. You could even add some cocoa powder if you wanted to make a chocolate cookie. So maybe I would look up a recipe for that because cocoa powder can overpower your taste if you don't do the right amount. So we would want to look that one up for sure. So I'm looking, I'm thinking. Oh, go ahead.
You can put almonds.
Would be great. Yes. Almonds would be great. Almonds are one of the things that I love about, modern society is that you can buy bags of slivered almonds or different ways that nuts are sliced. And that's really cool too, because then, almonds can be kind of hard to chop, but because they're just kind of round and rolly. But yeah, definitely almonds would be delicious. You could put like dried fruit. Dried mangoes would be delicious with coconut. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my next baking sheet out. If you have more than one baking sheet, you can do more than one. You can be prepping one of your baking sheets while the other one is baking. And we're halfway through our first batch in the oven. So I'm going to get this ready. And then I'm going to do special recipe here. Don't get me wrong, I do love a good chocolate chip cookie, but I also love, love, love different flavors. All right. We're gonna have a visitor here in a minute. Mr. Winecoop, the chocolate chip eater, is going to make a brief appearance. Would you like to say hi to Baking Club?
I would. Hi, Baking Club.
We're making chocolate chip cookies today.
I love chocolate chip cookies.
Except these are
Those are not chocolate chips.
No, those are chocolate chips.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. See, he likes the chocolate chip cookies. I'm gonna check my timer. Okay. 3 minutes left. Just keep baking. Might grab my water. I'm thirsty. Did I leave it at school? Dang it. I bet I did. Oh well. I wouldn't use. Yeah, I know. I just wish I didn't leave it at school. Oh well. She looked warm. You can. Oh, we're still here. You can. We have 3 minutes left.
Gotcha.
Okay. Say goodbye to Baking.
Goodbye, Baking Club.
My 16-year-old daughter Addie is taking driver's ed. She's going to do a drive, an official drive. Okay. This is delicious. All right, just a couple minutes left and we'll check on our cookies. So one thing to think about, bakers, is it can be really, really tempting to want to open your oven over and over and over again. Is it ready? Is it ready? Is it ready? And all that does is let the hot air out of your oven, and it makes it harder to bake them on time. So I use the light on my oven, or if you have to peek, right, just peek a little so that all the air doesn't come rushing out. And I'm going to check on them. I can already tell that my cookies are going to need a little bit more time. They're pretty pale right now. What we're looking for are a light brown color on the top of the cookie with maybe a little tiny bit darker around the edge. While we're waiting for that last bake, you can always clean up the kitchen. You know that cleaning up the kitchen is really important. That means you can bake the next time, right? If you leave the kitchen clean. Oh yeah. So I have looked, in fact, let me take my computer over here. I'll show you, or I'll try to show you what turn my timer off. And then if we look in, I don't know if you can see that. We're gonna peek in here. If we peek in, they're starting to get golden, but they're really, really what we call blonde on the middle. So I'm gonna add 2 more minutes and start that timer, and I'm gonna take them out in 2 more minutes. Okay, 2 more minutes, cleaning up, let go. Any questions about anything we've done so far? No? Okay. Ooh, during the holiday time, sometimes when you go to the like baking aisle, the chocolate chip aisle, they have like peppermint chips. You can make like a chocolate peppermint cookie using the same batter. be delicious. I'm so excited. We had a student, a family actually, sisters, who frequently baked cookies and brought them to school. When we were in remote learning, they would bring them to curbside, which was delicious. And one of my favorite cookies they made was a s'mores cookie. So it had some graham cracker in it and some marshmallows and some chocolate. That was delicious. You could do something like that. Okay, we're so close. So my cookies just came out, which is super exciting. I baked them for 12 minutes, so now I know how much to put on the timer. You can see they're a little darker around the edges, right? And there's a little bit of the light parts in the middle, but one of the things you do is leave these on for 2 minutes. Leave them on the pan. You can set them aside. If you have a cooling rack, you could get that out, but you're gonna leave them on there for 2 minutes so that they continue to bake just a little, and two, it makes it easier to get them off the pan. So we'll wait 2 more minutes and then I'll put them on my cooling rack and you can see the finished product. I'm gonna stick my next batch of cookies in and set my timer. I set my timer this time for 12 minutes because I did my first batch was a test batch. And I'm gonna get my cooling rack out so you can see what they look like. And my spatula so I can get them off of the pan easily. Always use oven mitts when you're taking things in and out of the oven. It's hot. All right, just a little bit more time before I scoop them. Doo-doo-doo. We are going to start a baking club at Eagle Staff. We don't have one yet, but definitely check in with me when we get to school in September to let me know if you're interested in joining the baking club. I don't know yet if we'll be able to have clubs at school, after school, but one great thing is we could still keep baking like this, right? We could keep meeting online, even if we can't do it at school. But then if we have some chances at school where we can also bake together, we can do that as well. So just keep in mind that we'll definitely have a baking club and probably keep making recordings of our bakes so that we can post them on the library's YouTube channel and you all can share what you've made. Last time we baked brownies, students, when they finished, they sent me pictures, just took a quick picture and emailed it to me. I'll put my email address in the chat. I would love to see pictures of your final product for sure. So there's my email. If you wouldn't mind, I would love for you to take a picture and share that with me. You could also, if you have a picture, right, because maybe yours just finished, you could drop a picture in the chat. I have that there. Okay, it has been 2 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and scoop these. And you can see, oh my gosh, look at that. They're so happy. Just perfectly brown, scoop them on. If they do stick, sometimes we talked about that, just give them a little nudge. Oops, that one went down the sink. Oops. Let's clean sink. There we go. Sometimes they slide off. That's actually one of the great things about this parchment paper is you can just keep using this over and over again until you're done for today, and then you can dispose of it. So that's it. That's our bake for today. Kayleani asked if you should send it through Outlook account, whatever you prefer. As long as you send it to me, I don't really have a preference of where you send it. Like if you have a personal Gmail account or something, that's fine too. But today we made chocolate chip and the butterscotch oatmeal pecan coconut cookies. I look forward to seeing your finished products, and the next big bake will happen probably in September. We'll be back in school together. If you have ideas, you can email me ideas too for what you think we should bake together the next time. I would love that. Awesome. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, Ravens, for joining us. Enjoy these delicious cookies.